Welcome back to another week here in northern Portugal. One of the jobs we tackled this week was to rebuild the corners of the outbuilding in stone. When we bought the property, these corners had been built up using bricks instead of stone, probably because that was easier. I think the bricks look ugly and didn't want to see them. Now that we have them removed, we're going to fill the areas left by them with stone like they were originally. Fortunately, we have a large stockpile of stones from demolishing outbuildings and digging up areas around the land. I first did a dry fit, trying to find the right stones that would work in the corners. This required a bit of patience, searching through piles of heavy stones. Often I would have to find a compromise, as the perfect stone doesn't always exist. Looking at the building, it would be classed as having rubble stone walls, constructed using irregularly shaped and undressed stones. So the stones I used didn't have to be perfect as long as they looked the part. I used a bag of pre-mixed lime-based mortar because I've seen enough YouTube comments berating those using anything else when working with stone. But as it was pre-mixed, it did make things easier. If you would have used something different, please let me know in the comments. I did consider using a string line to help keep the stone straight and level, and that's something I regret not doing. These corners aren't too difficult to eye in, but the longer stretch I did later on would have definitely benefited from one. Some of the old bricks hadn't been fully removed, so in places, to make the surface as level as possible, I removed them, which would make it easier to lay stones afterwards. So I know it doesn't look finished and it's not been pointed in, but the plan is to point the whole building in at the same time, because I think we might sandblast the exterior, and if we do that it will just remove the mortar that I put in now. So I'm going to hold off finishing it completely at the moment. I just want to build up the stone so we can do the next stage, which is creating the sort of waterproofing lip over the top of the stone, so if any water trickles down the bricks, it will flow off. Annoyingly, I didn't have another corner on the stone building to use, as all of the corners had been replaced with tijolos that have been removed, and now I'm building them back up in stone. I'm sure someone will let me know in the comments if that will do or not, or how bad that is, but on to the next one. You can see along this bit is where probably the most work needs to be done. Together with the corner here, there were bricks all along here where my finger is. Those have been removed, and I'm going to build it back up, just fill in this little bit here and the corner with stone. But before I do that, I will try and tackle this corner. Together we continued building up the areas that needed to be filled in, Verity laying the stones and me supplying them and mixing up the mortar. Access to the wall here wasn't straightforward. A combination of the step ladder, these hippo bags and the scaffolding was put to use. So at the moment we are trying to find some stones to repair the corners and the edge of this top of the stone wall over on the outbuilding. Once we've got the corners finished, then we can fill in between the corners, and I've got a sort of strategy of how we're going to then build up the gap between the Tijolo face and the stone wall face. I wasn't when I first did the other corner, right. And I sort of built up the stone so it would look good from the outside, and then I needed to fill in the bit beyond.
So like when it's dried on that stone, will it come off?
Yeah. This stretch of the wall needed a bit more attention. Bricks had been used to fill in more than just the corner, so I set about removing the bits left over, trying to make the surface easier to work with. Sun is out and we are going to be building up the stone wall on the other side of the outbuilding. We did a bit last week and we're going to try and finish it off this week. The day before this we had a fairly large storm which had blown these roof panels around, so I decided to stack them up again, and fortunately there was no other damage, so I think we got off lightly. Here's a little clip of the stonework on this wall It's not perfect, but I think it'll do the job.
I know some people do the membranes, they like bring them up.
I mean, or we could split it into 3 sections. Let's just do that measurement again. We plan on having some lighting up on the roof terrace, keeping it simple with 6 wall-mounted lights laid out in parallel. We're also adding an external double socket, so we'll be able to have power up here if needed. To hide away any cabling, we're drilling through the parapet wall and running cables behind it out of sight. First, we had to roughly measure out where the lights would go. The rooftop is far from being a rectangle. In fact, all sides are different in length and none of the corners are 90 degrees, so we had to judge it as best we could. And just do, I suppose, at the time of filming, my plan was to use the leftover insulation from the main house to pad out this wall, then render over it. But since then we've changed our minds and plan on cladding the parapet in timber. It'll be something like this. There are a few reasons for this, but the main one being our confidence in doing the rendering ourselves. We haven't had the best success with it, and also due to the awkward access to the southern end of the parapet wall, we think cladding will be easier to install and would probably look more attractive versus rendering it ourselves. After drilling the holes for the lights, the next step was to run the cables. I went for a standard 3-core cable for the lighting circuit and a slightly chunkier one for the power socket. The lighting will be connected in parallel, and fortunately the lights that we bought are already set up for this. Neither of us are electricians, but we're happy enough to give it a go. At the moment the outbuilding has no power supply, but in the future I'll run an armoured cable from the main house. The roof is a perfect spot for a few solar panels, so potentially that is something we will set up in the future. We covered each cable with plastic conduit, and I fixed the loose conduit to the wall using a combination of plastic fixings and cable ties. We continue to add the cable around the perimeter of the outbuilding, taping all of the conduit junctions and making it look as tidy as possible. We're not going to have mains power up here for some time, so I'll test it out with a power bank, hopefully sometime this summer. We spoke to a nearby contractor about work we want done to the main house. At the same time, he advised us that we should add some dimple matting on top of the bitumen before we add our geotextile membrane. This dimple matting is usually used to waterproof basement and other walls below ground. In this situation, we laid it horizontally with the dimples facing down. This creates a small air gap under the matting, allowing water to drain freely across the roof. It's fairly inexpensive and we had planned on using it around the house later on, so we'll use any leftovers for that. We have changed our minds several times about how to finish this roof. We want to use it as a terrace, but the idea of covering it in tiles seems too permanent. If there is a leak, it will be a nightmare to find its source and would likely mean lifting several tiles up. Perhaps my previous experience with this roof has put me off that option, but it's also not cheap, and this roof is around 70 meters squared, so that is an expensive option. You'll find out in a future video what we decided to do. Just spent the most part of this morning getting that wall-mounted light up and the socket down here. Bad news is I've got about 5 more of those to do, and that's just a bit fiddly. They're galvanised steel and they are pretty shiny at the moment, but hopefully over time they will lose their shine and look less like a sort of Airstream spaceship kind of light. I'm going to try and build a gate here. I won't be able to build it today because I don't have any hinges, but I can build the timber uprights, which the gate will then connect into. The plan is for have a gate that swings this way, and the width of it is only going to be as wide as this section of stone wall because I don't want to obstruct the opening here. It's going to be temporary, but we do plan on having a gate here in the future. But the main aim of this gate is to prevent the dog from running out when we have an opening in that stone wall before it's all finished, and there's a gate there. Got some bits of timber from, these are from the roof that used to go over the top there. I'm just going to take the old nails out and I'm going to try and reuse these. I've also got a bit of unused timber, which I might have to end up using if these are no good. I wanted to keep the gate off the ground to help keep it dry and less likely to rot. For the fixed part of the gate, I decided to use a bit of steel rebar to connect the ground with the timber. I used an epoxy type resin to fix the steel, but hopefully I'll be able to show the new gate in the next video.